Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening to or watching on YouTube the first episode of It Gets Butter. This is a brand new podcast. I wanted to create a community where people can go to a place and find out other people's favorite comfort food, including we share the recipes for that comfort food in the show's description, so you can get a free recipe every episode. And also, I want to talk to whatever guest I have on about a hard time that they've gone through. And so we dive into that so people can, if they're going through something, feel like they're not alone and hear somebody else going through something that may relate to them. In the very first episode, I have on my partner, Mr. Matt Lowery, and you'll hear why he'd better be the first guest on this podcast. If you'll please excuse the bit of a shaky entrance I have on the introduction. It's the first episode. We get a little shakiness out of the way. And as so far as the camera, I can tell you, once we hit episode 3, the camera quality even gets a little bit better. So if you're watching this on video on YouTube, you will see the difference. If not, it's going to sound the same, and hopefully it sounds good. Here's what we need to know. Everybody has a favorite comfort food. Matt's is his grandmother's macaroni and cheese recipe, and that will be shared in the details of the podcast. Stick around on the podcast and listen through to find out why I think he's wrong about that being his comfort food. Also, we talk about a breakup he's been through and the advice he has for anybody going through one. So sit back, relax, enjoy the very first episode of It Gets Butter. Okay, and welcome everybody to one of the first episodes, I don't know what order it's going to come out in, of It Gets Butter.
Oh, I better be first.
Yeah, well, I knew that was going to happen. This is a podcast that I've had an idea for a while. It is talking about comfort food. It is talking about personal preferences. It's talking about personal struggles, things everybody can relate to. I want to create an environment in which new people can find new comfort food to find. People can find other people that have gone through similar things they've gone through. That is the point of the podcast. And I have my very first guest on. My very first guest is my personal man for the past 4 years, my partner in life, the guy who you've seen him on Checking In with Jeff, and welcome, Matt. But he is also not only just my partner and helped me put this podcast together, he owns his own company, the Pathways Group. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But let's get no more babbling on an introduction. It's Matt Lowery, everybody. Look at the camera and say, hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, we'll go with take 2 on that one. No, just kidding. That was great. So, you are on It Gets Butter. You've heard me talking about this for a while. This is going to be a different episode because I know a lot more about you than maybe other guests that are going to come on.
Supposedly you do.
We're going to find out.
Mm-hmm. We're going to test that memory that you brag about so much.
Well, I do not brag about a memory. One of the other really probably bad things for a podcast that I have done is put a charcuterie board in front of us. So we can munch and eat during the podcast.
With lots of crunchy food.
Oh, so much crunchy food, really bad for sound, but also I eat my feelings, so I put them out there. Also, that blue cheese is all yours. All right.
Oh, okay. Well, you could look at the crunchy food as built-in sound effects, so
yes.
We're saving on post-production time.
We'll fix it in real time. All right, so my first question, Mr. Lowery, is going to be, what would you consider your relationship to food as? How would you define your current relationship to food?
Probably very unhealthy. If the video is working, everyone can tell I probably have a very unhealthy relationship with food. And, not to blame anyone else, but in case anyone was wondering, I am Southern. I am originally from South Carolina, home. And so a large part of Southern culture is food. Everything revolves around food. If someone passes away, people bring over food. If someone gets married, there's food. If you have a family get-together, there's food. So everything revolves around food. And so I was raised by my grandparents, who both were born and raised during the Great Depression. And so for them, if you put it on your plate, you ate it. There was no wasting of food. So I don't remember ever being forced to eat anything, but if it was on my plate, I was expected to eat it and eat it all. And I think I've carried that over into my adult life, and that if there's something there, then I need to eat it all.
I remember my grandfather was the same. We went to a Ponderosa. It was up on US 19 by Countryside. And Ponderosa was one of those you can go, like, fill up. It was like a buffet type thing. And I remember my brother and I learned early. You know, we went up and got some food and decided, like, oh, we got too much. Oh, well. And my grandfather was like, nope. You put it on your plate. You thought you were going to eat it. You eat it. And I remember crying. Now, that was a skinnier, smaller Jeff. It was like, I don't want to eat anymore. Things have changed. But, yeah, my grandfather probably from around the same era and definitely had that same mentality of, and it was very different than my parents' mentality. So I could see, yeah, you being raised by your grandfather with that mentality. Mm-hmm. That's something that stuck, whereas to me, it was a mentality that I visited and then went home and complained about type thing. So,
yeah.
One of the main things about this is I want to learn about other people's favorite comfort foods. I think in general, we all have our own specific comfort food that hits for us, that makes us feel better in a certain mood, in a certain point of the day. For whatever reason, we have a connection to it. And I just want to learn more about other people's comfort foods. That's one of the reasons for this whole podcast. And so I know I asked you prior, one of the few things I asked prior to you coming on, and I already have a good idea what your comfort food is. By the way, I think you're wrong on what you wrote back. Your answers are wrong. But let's talk about, you gave kind of three answers. Let's talk about your go-to comfort food. Let's break it down. What was your first one?
I don't remember.
I'll remind you. Your
well,
first
how
one
can
was
I
if
remember since it was wrong anyway?
Your first one was when you're feeling nostalgic.
Oh, when I'm thinking about home, when
Yeah.
I'm homesick.
Yeah.
Oh, if I'm homesick, then there's got to be something that reminds me of home, and typically that's something starchy. Whether it's going to be some type like macaroni and cheese or mashed potatoes or something starchy and savory.
And then you said anything with potatoes is a bit of a comfort food for you. Mm-hmm. And if you're feeling Mexican, which you love Mexican food, mm-hmm. Mexican culture, the Mexican people, what is your go-to Mexican dish?
Chilaquiles.
And why chilaquiles? Why is that? Because here's the thing. It's funny. Before I met you, I had never heard of chilaquiles. And then I watched you order it a bunch of times, and I was like, I don't get it. And then I finally made it for you once, and that was the first time I ever had it. And I was like, oh, it's good. Like, I get it. But it's not, to me, a commonplace Mexican dish that you're getting at a lot of places. Mm-hmm. Where did that come into? Where did that fall into your life?
Okay, so the 50-cent version of how all that came to be is way back when a guy I was very good friends with, his stepmother was talking about the new Mexican restaurant in town. And at the time, I'm talking about, I was in my teens. So this was going on 35, 40 years ago. So this Mexican joint had just opened up in the area. It was the first one, so it was a big to-do in the community. She loved it. She ranted about it. And so eventually I went there and I'm like, oh, this food is pretty good. At the time, no one knew what a taco was or what a burrito was or,
nobody in that area knew.
Nobody in that area.
Because people at that time still knew.
Yeah. Well, I'm from a very small town in the upstate of South Carolina, pretty much in the sticks. So I'll say that very few people in that area were cosmopolitan enough to really know a whole lot about Mexican food. So anyway, went there, liked the food, started going as a regular. started talking with some of the guys, and all very nice guys, very nice people. Started hanging out with them. Well, the Spanish started sticking. I would remember words, and then I would remember phrases, and then I could put together sentences, and then I started studying on my own and became pretty fluent in it. And so in the late 90s, I think it was around 97 or 98, maybe. I think it was in 1998. Went to Mexico for the first time. A very good friend of mine, a guy that she was dating, he had went back home. She was missing him. She wanted to go visit, but she spoke zero Spanish, and she's like, "Hey, would you go with me and just be my muscle, be my bodyguard, be my translator?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So that was the first trip of many, where I would go and spend weeks and months in Mexico, and I'd already been introduced to the food and the cuisine because at the time I was also more or less working at the restaurant. But this is when I would really spend time in these tiny towns where a lot of people had never seen in person anyone who was Caucasian.
Much less 6'3".
Yeah. Blonde, blue eyes, which I did not know at the time is considered very good luck. So I would be walking through some of the small towns, and people would come up to me and they would literally start petting me. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's a thing. It's just something that people do. Well, come to find out, I was considered good luck, and supposedly by, petting my arm and touching my blonde hair, some of that good luck. Oh, that's where my good luck went. Anyway, so back to the story. While I was in Mexico on all of these different trips, I would spend time with the families that were welcoming me into their home. And so I would learn little by little how to cook this and how to cook that. And, oh, this is how this is made. Well, I remember the first time I had chilaquiles. I don't know what it is about them. It's not a super complex dish.
No, it's a rustic dish.
Yeah, you basically take some type of salsa. It's typically either red or green. You warm that up. You throw tortilla chips in there, and then typically they're made with egg, and that's pretty much it. You throw some cheese, onion, cilantro, and then they're sometimes served with rice and beans. So it's nothing complex. There's nothing complicated about it, and maybe that's why I liked it so much. To me, it was very simple, and yeah, that's kind of been my go-to comfort food when I'm thinking about Mexico. I think about Mexico, and I just crave chilaquiles.
The first time we were in LA together, we were there for 6 weeks. How many times did you have chilaquiles in Mexico? In LA?
It was quite a few.
I am curious now about if the bear community and the gay community is appropriating Mexican culture by wanting to pet big hairy men for good luck. But I can't say whether any certainty on that. You submitted, and one thing that I am trying to do on this podcast is, what's up everybody, is have everybody bring in a recipe, because one thing is hearing about people's favorite comfort food, and another thing is getting to try it. So your recipe that you brought in, which by the way, I was very surprised you brought in, because I know what this recipe means, is your grandmother's mac and cheese.
No, it's not mac and cheese. It's macaroni and cheese.
Abbreviated. Your grandmother's elbow macaroni and cheese.
I don't know why you need to throw elbow in there.
Because if you've ever gone shopping with this man and you're like, hey, should we get shells for the macaroni and cheese? And he will push you down in the aisle and get elbows. There's one type of pasta that is ready for this. Now, let's talk about, so why that dish? Why did you submit that dish for us?
It reminds me of home.
Okay.
So my grandmother passed away in 2001. My grandfather passed away in 2005. And I went through a time where I was like, So neither one of them cooked with recipes. It was
Okay.
all muscle memory, if you will.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really anything for me once they had passed, and I have a lot of my grandmother's recipe books, but they're all books from other people, and they have recipes from other people. So there wasn't really anything in any of her books that said, "This is how I make this.
The
This is how I make
tweaks that
that."
she would make and so on.
Yeah. But I remember, being a kid, being in the kitchen and helping her and my grandfather make whatever. And so there were several years where I would talk to my mom and I would talk to my aunt, and going by memory, I would say, okay, how did my grandmother, and so my grandparents, we called them Ma, Cat, and Pa. Instead of saying my grandmother and my grandfather is Ma, Cat, and Pa. And so I would talk to my mom. I'd say, hey, how did Ma Cat make this? Or I'd talk to my aunt. I'd say, hey, how did Ma Cat make that? Mm-hmm. And so I just went through a time where I was recreating from memory and from what my mom and my aunt had told me. I would just recreate these recipes that I remember, but not a lot. And there was nothing written for me to go by. And so when the very first one that I did was Ma Cat's Macaroni and Cheese. And so when you asked me what would I like to share, I'm like, well, for me it was kind of a no-brainer.
Right.
Like, it's not mine. It just kind of belongs to everybody. It's become that one thing that when the family gets together and I'm cooking something, it's just understood that's what I cook.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, well, why would I guard the recipe? Why wouldn't I share it with everyone?
And not just your blood family, your chosen family. Your friends make you bring this to everywhere too. My next question to you is, are you concerned with giving out this recipe that you'll stop being invited places because they can just make it themselves? Or is that the goal because you don't want to interact with people more? And you're like, if they can just make it themselves, I don't need to go bother with them.
If they want to, they can make it themselves. They're welcome to it. But, the thing about a lot of cooking, whether it's something, my opinion, whether it's something you find in a cookbook, whether it's something you see online or a recipe that someone gives you, there's a large part of that recipe that you can't teach.
There's a nuance to
There's a
cooking
nuance to
it.
it.
Yeah.
And because I know, like, for me, if I follow the recipe exactly, it turns out a certain way.
Yeah.
But there are days when I'm making it, I'll say, well, I want to put in a little bit more of this. I'll put in a little bit more of this, or I want to switch this up. And I'm like, oh, that made it better, or oh, that didn't really do anything for it. Yeah. So yeah, people can take the recipe and do whatever they want with it. I mean, it's theirs. Why wouldn't they?
Now, and my relationship with a recipe and cooking is I like to, all right, we didn't need the face on it. I like to look up like 2 or 3 recipes, and then I do this thing where I look up 2 or 3 recipes, and I'm like, I got the gist of what I need to make, and then I'll make something. And primarily, pretty tasty. Sometimes I'll go, all right, I could see where that could get better. That could make it in the rotation if I just maybe picked a recipe. I'm going to need you to, for the camera, tell people I'm a good cook.
He's such a good cook.
All right, well, some enthusiasm wouldn't have killed you.
Have I ever refused to eat anything that you've made?
We've just talked about your relationship with food. I don't know if that holds as much water as you would have thought prior.
No. Well, as long as I have a fully stocked kitchen and I can make my own food, I am not scared to walk away from something that I don't like. So
that's why I put it on the plate before it comes out to you. So now you have to eat it. It's on the plate. All right. One of the other things I do want to talk about on this podcast is rough times, hard times that I have found, by the way, putting out our charcuterie board. It looks great. You guys can't see it because the camera, it's blocked from the camera. It's pretty. I mean, it's very beige charcuterie board. You're not eating with your eyes on this one. But also, we're talking so much, there's no actual eating on it. And
there will be sooner or later.
That's going to just end up being dinner, by the way. So
there's worse things to have for dinner.
Absolutely worse things than there are. Which, by the way, charcuterie board is one of those comfort foods. It's not my go-to comfort food, but I just love like it. Just one of those that always makes me feel good. I never want to order it at a restaurant because they're stupid expensive at restaurants. Also, I like it because I don't have to make it myself. But there's just something about when somebody puts meat and cheese and maybe some fruit on it, and you're just like, we had talked a little bit earlier about the other day. You and I talked about that feel good on the Swiss Colony, and I couldn't remember the name of the other place, but like my grandparents would send me one of those packages with the summer sausage and the cheese and all of that. And it just made me feel good, and I would eat all of it. And like I'd be like, oh, on a down night, and I'm like, oh, I don't have anything to eat, and I'm kind of poor right now, but there's a tiny thumb-sized summer sausage in my fridge, and I would slice it up, and like I could just, it's only me. I'm just slicing it up at that point. It was, but yeah, charcuterie boards, feel-good boards, best board game out there, charcuterie, guaranteed. All right, that was my little rant.
Go buy one today. Yeah, I thought this was about me, but obviously it's not.
Welcome to anything I'm doing.
So when are you going to tell me the correct answers that I should have given you about my favorite comfort foods?
Oh, my opinion on your favorite comfort foods.
Mm-hmm. Tell me how I'm wrong.
So my opinions on your favorite comfort food is potatoes, yes, hands down. Your grandmother's mac and cheese, I think it's a comfort food for you, but I also think it, and by the way, this is unfair. I have a little bit more insight into your life, obviously. I think it's more of a comfort memory, which I understand those go hand in hand. But it's something you're very proud of, so that way that when you bring it places, it always gets praises, and it's one of those. I don't know, it's the praises for the mac and cheese, but I think you like that because that's kind of praising your grandmother, right?
Oh yeah, I'm not going. Yeah, I won't disagree.
And then
with that.
I think, to me, one of your comfort foods, one of your go-to feel-good comfort foods, is egg salad.
Oh, absolutely.
I think,
But I don't know. I don't know why. I have my thoughts on why is the egg salad. So to give everyone a little insight what he's talking about. So I have no idea where I got this from. Actually, I think this was something where I had a whole bunch of spices and I wanted to make egg salad. And so I take my eggs, I boil them, cut them up. You add Duke's mayonnaise. Duke's mayonnaise, people. Duke's. There is no other. And then, let's see, it's got salt, pepper, garlic salt, paprika, cumin.
they're getting 2 recipes out of this episode.
Chili powder, cayenne. Am I leaving something out?
You don't let me make it, so I don't know.
There might be 1 or 2 things I'm leaving out, but I think that's it. And, so you take all that and you mix it up really, really good. And like a lot of things, it's better the next day. But I also have a weird relationship with saltine crackers.
Yes, you do.
I
Yes.
love a saltine cracker. So I don't know, is it the carb in it? Is it the little bit of the hit of salt? Is it the crunch?
I think it's nostalgia.
But personally, I can't think of any time in my past where a saltine cracker has played a large part in a memory. So I don't know if it's the crunch. I don't know if it's the salt. I don't know if it's the carb. But as you know, if I take a saltine cracker and then put some of that egg salad, I call it Southwest egg salad, and put some of that Southwest egg salad, oh my God, that's just the best.
See, and that's why to me that's what I would qualify as your go-to comfort food, because I feel like if you're here at the house for a week by yourself, and if work annoys you, you get frustrated, you get down, you get annoyed, I think that's what you're going to make, and that's what you're going to eat for 1, 2, 3 nights in a row, more than any other food. That's just my opinion because you've done it.
Well, it's also a go-to because it's so easy to make.
Yeah. No, and I get that too. But so that's having a bit of insight. I know that's a bit of a go-to for you.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying you don't love chilaquiles. Again, I've seen you eat those regularly, and obviously, I know you and a tater have a long-standing relationship. I would never get in the middle of.
Yeah, and then there's saltines and peanut butter.
Yeah, maybe it's just saltines you like. I work.
Go figure.
I worked in this fine dining restaurant. I think I told you this story. And at the end of the day, leftover oysters, they'd open. You can't reuse them. So if they were already open, we'd get to eat the oysters. And there was this server that I worked with, and he's just downing oysters, but he's loading it up with Tabasco, ton of Tabasco, downing it, ton of Tabasco, downing it. And he was like, I think I just like Tabasco. I don't even know if I like oysters. I just like Tabasco. You might just love saltines.
Well, could be. Because, I also have a very unhealthy relationship with, like, but also a potato chip.
Yeah.
Or a tortilla chip.
Yeah.
Like, I also make homemade salsa, just like what you could get in a Mexican restaurant, because I used to make it in vats. But you give me a big bowl of the salsa that I make,
Yeah.
and I will just devour it. But is it because I like the salsa so much, or is it that salty, crunchy
It's like salty
tortillas?
crunch.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why we get along.
because you're salty and crunchy.
A little bit.
No, you're very crunchy. I'll give you that much.
Okay.
You're salty too.
All right, we didn't need to say very. That felt
No, very
unnecessary.
salty, very crunchy, very salty.
So one of the things I also want people to get out of this podcast is a feeling of not being alone, a feeling of understanding other people go through stuff as well, right? So this loosely based on a long time ago, there was a campaign about it gets better, right? No correlation, can't sue me, different. And and that was a great, Dan Savage helped start that. It was for the LGBT community and so on. It was about if you're being bullied in high school, just get through high school. It gets better. Just get through. I actually did a campaign video for the Tampa Bay Rays, did an It Gets Better video, which was great. Me and some people got to write it. I got to direct and shoot it. It was incredible to be a part of that. But with that mentality of, which I thought was such a great campaign, and such a simple saying on things get better. Listen, it could be shitty now. They get better. Just get through it, right? We've both worked in restaurants, and the only way to get out of the weeds is to get through the weeds. Like you just have to go through it. It's if you've never been a server, you will absolutely. There's the first time you're in the weeds, and the weeds is that phrase of too many tables, too many people asking for things. You're overwhelmed. Is basically what it is. You're too much multitasking. You're overwhelmed in that moment. That's called the weeds in the industry. And having both of us been through that, what I always tell people, your first time is panic attack. In my opinion, it was the worst. I was like, but when somebody points out that stopping and freaking out doesn't get you through that. Continue walking, moving, compartmentalize, figure out what you need to do, prioritize, those type things. And you take that and you put that in your everyday life too. So I'd like to open the floor up to you to talk about maybe a hard time you went through and kind of what that hard time was and how you got through it. Please don't be dating me. Please don't be dating me.
So, to put all this in a package. So I had not thought about this until probably today, actually, because I knew we were going to be filming this. Oh God, how do I say it without dating myself? We're going to be recording. There we go. We're going to be recording this on VHS tape today.
We're going to be laying this on the wax today.
So it's been on my mind the last couple of days, and then it dawned on me, and like I said, I think this was earlier today, it dawned on me that the whole recipe thing, where I was going back and trying to recreate recipes from, Ma Cat and recipes from Pa and my childhood in general, I don't remember exactly when I started doing that, but I'm pretty sure it was after the breakup that happened in 2016. If you know, you know. It was a very bad time for me. It was
Yeah.
a very dark time for me. I I was going home every couple months just because I did not want to be here. I didn't want to be here, and when I say here, I did not want to be in St. Pete. I did not want to be in this house. This house, although it has all kinds of memories, the only ones that were standing out to me were the bad ones because
Right.
they were the most recent ones. And so I would just travel. I would go home every so often, and then I would just go anywhere to not be here.
Right.
And so, like I said, I think it dawned on me earlier today that I started recreating those recipes after the breakup and when I was trying to get through everything. And I'm like, oh, was that, little Matt that was looking for a more innocent time in his life
Right.
where there was more security and there wasn't any pain and having to deal with all the shit that comes with being an adult and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, oh, I do think that in that time is when I started talking to my mom and talking to my aunt and asking, how did Ma Cat make this? And, what was in Ma Cat salmon patties? And, how did Pa make his cornbread, which I'm also famous for? And then it dawned on me, oh, yeah, all of that was going on after the breakup. And I think it was just a way for me to kind of push through it and remind myself when times were better.
Do you think kind of creating that project, it's I would say, the what do I want to say? The greatest way to fight depressing thoughts is not to have an idle mind, because God forbid you have an idle mind. When you're in that state, when you're in that feelings, that's where your mind's going to go. So if you're keeping your mind busy, you created a project for yourself. Do you think that helped on maybe it's one of those, I go to, there's a great saying, and I'm not going to remember it perfectly, in the movie Swingers, where they talk about the breakup. John Favreau's going through the big breakup that he has, and he's hyper focused on it. And then, I forget his name, says basically to him that, it's going to suck for a while, and then it's going to suck less. And then someday it's not going to suck. And then you'll be sad that it's not sucking, and then you'll miss that it sucked. But you just have to keep yourself busy until all of a sudden you don't remember that, oh yeah, that's right, I'm supposed to be upset. And I think that's a true kind of analogy of what people deal with. Do you find that helped, that kind of like giving yourself that project made you think about it less until maybe you didn't think about it as much? Or
I think so, because I know, like, I also have ADHD. So when I focus, I can super focus where
right.
there is nothing else going on in the room. There's nothing else going on in the world, just that one thing that I'm working on. And I'm very much that way in the kitchen, which is why, as you know,
Why I'm not allowed in
don't
the
fuck
kitchen.
with me in the kitchen, because get out of my way. No, I don't want you just coming in there and tiptoeing around and, I'm just going to put this in the sink. No, stay out of my kitchen, because I have a flow. I have a mission. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm 3 or 4 or 5 steps ahead. And in my mind, I'm already doing that step. And, someone, not necessarily Jeff, comes in and say, oh, well, I just want some water. Or, oh, I just want to help make Christmas dinner. No, you don't. You want to get in my way.
Just say my dad. Just say my dad.
I will not.
There's a real quick story on this. God bless him. We had a bit of a Christmas dinner here, a small 8 people, something like that. And my dad just trying to be super helpful. He's trying to impress himself on you, trying to be a good guy. and doesn't understand Matt's system in the kitchen. Is Matt in the kitchen is the system, and he's like, "Well, I'll get water for the table." And I just remember Matt looked at me and he was like, "Get your dad." And again, my dad was doing no wrong other than just
Existing.
not knowing you're crazy in the kitchen sometimes.
Well, I'm not crazy in the kitchen. I have my system.
Yes.
And anything, and we don't, it's not like we have a ginormous kitchen. It's not like we have a tiny kitchen either. But like I say, I know what's next. I know what the next step is. I know what I need to do. I know where I'm going. And I'm already multiple steps ahead. Well, if something comes in and flubs a step, well, then everything just falls apart. But anyway, to answer the question, yes, I do think that I don't know if I would even call it a project, because it's not something that I was doing on a daily basis or even on a weekly basis. It was just one of those things where I would think about it and say, oh, yeah, let me work on that again. And, let me talk to my mom, let me talk to my aunt and, figure out whatever the next recipe is. And then there was a lot of time spent in the kitchen actually cooking and tweaking and figuring out what was working and not working. And so, yeah, for me, all of that time, whether it was on the phone with family or, sitting down with pen and paper and, writing out a recipe and saying, well, let me change this, let me change that, or actually being in the kitchen, all of that just helped me completely clear my mind. And then also for me, anytime I'm in the kitchen, it's that way. So if I'm in the kitchen, even if I'm rearranging or if I'm washing dishes or putting up dishes or whatever, I don't know if I would go so far as to say that the kitchen is kind of like my sanctuary, but maybe pretty close to it.
Okay. So it's funny. I have two kind of follow-up questions on the getting through the hard time. One of them, I think, is a pretty obvious answer. I wanted to ask, looking back, what role did food play in you getting through that hard time? And I think a pretty heavy role, because the focus was on recreating recipes and trying and cooking the food.
No, I didn't make any bread.
No. Okay. Perfect. And
because he said roll. I didn't make rolls. I didn't even make biscuits. Yes, I know. I still owe you biscuits, homemade biscuits. Yes, I know. And sausage gravy. I'm working on it, Jeff. It's only been 4 years. Give me a minute.
Sorry about attacking you. My next part of that question is, I think we answered that. How did you see your way to the other side? And at what point, how long do you think, or is it still a lingering part of your life type thing, that you got to the other side of not being focused on the hurt of that breakup, not being focused on the pain or the anger that's that? How did you find your way, and how long do you think it took to get to either completely on this other side of that or a livable part on the other side of that? Or are you still in the process?
I'm definitely still in the process, and I don't think I will ever be on the other side of it just because of the circumstances. But it took probably the better part of a good 6 or 7 years for me to say, okay, it's not going to rule my life anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think a large part of that is because I didn't go anywhere. Even though I was traveling and trying to get out of the house as much as I could, it would have been much easier for me had I said, that's it, I'm done. And I had sold the house and moved away from St. Pete, because when you're in a relationship, as you know, when you're in a relationship with someone for an extended amount of time, and you're constantly out and about doing things, you cannot go anywhere without saying, oh, well, I remember when we were here and we did this, or we came here with, and done and did whatever. So for me, it's kind of like that. I don't know if there will ever be closure for me, because there's just so many loose ends that I can never fully tie up.
Okay. So we're going to deal with that the rest of our lives. Okay.
Yeah. You know what you were getting into.
What advice do you have for anybody going through a similar situation? So somebody's going through a breakup. They are taking it extremely hard. They are feeling, and these are just a random list, but angry, betrayed, whatever they're in their feelings on. And it's the same precipice as a breakup that you went through. What advice would you get them looking back on how you went through yours?
Find something. I don't want to be corny and say find something that makes you happy. I would say,
But that's not, but real quick, I'm sorry to interject, but that's not untrue because in a relationship, that person's making you happy.
Yeah.
And then when they leave, you have lost a large chunk of what makes you happy, and you need to be cognitive, and you need to replace that.
Yeah. I guess the reason why I'm not going to say something like that is I know for me there was nothing that made me happy.
Well, yeah, you should be able to make yourself happy, but that is an adjustment because you've had that person doing that for you.
Yeah. So for me, I knew there was no way that I could make myself happy. So I would say that I kept myself busy.
Okay.
Keep your mind occupied. And because maybe if you're keeping your mind occupied, then by definition or by extension, you're keeping yourself busy. And if you're keeping yourself busy, eventually that momentum brings you out of it.
Okay.
Or maybe it doesn't necessarily bring you out of it, but it
gets you to a different place.
Yeah, because it does get better. It does get better. I'm not sure what to say here.
Butter.
Butter.
What advice would you give yourself today, Matt, would you give yourself when Matt was going through it now? After all the years of you going through it to now, everything you've learned and seen, when you look back, if you could give yourself advice with your current perspective, is there something different you would tell yourself?
Yeah, get out of St. Pete.
Just so you would have never met me. That's what the goal.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, we're going to make it by Jeff again.
But you would have moved.
There's that double-edged sword of had I not left or had I not stayed in St. Pete, I never would have met you.
Sure.
And that in and of itself has been great and wonderful, But there was a lot of dark times to get to that point.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that double-edged sword that if I could talk to myself in 2016 or really early 2017 when everything really went to shit, part of me wants to say you'll get better a lot faster if you were to move somewhere else. But then there's also that part of me is like, but if you don't move, or if you do move, you're going to miss out on a really great thing later on.
I'll remind you that next time I cook in the kitchen and the kitchen's a mess. So it's interesting because I find that advice interesting, and I think it can be true, but I'm always hesitant on location to solve a problem because I don't fully feel, and I get the memories and the running into, and change of location absolutely removes that, but that's not what the problem was, right? Like the problem is the person, the communication, what happened, and working through that. That's still there wherever you go. It's in your face more because all of those memories are forcing it to come up here. So I think changing, but I just worry, and I've said to people in the past on, that they're like, oh, God, there was a friend of mine dated this guy, and every city he went to and lived in, he had some story about the problem in that city. And they moved to another city and there was a problem in that city. And I was like, you're the problem, dude. You are the problem. His name was Paul Prestige. I don't care if he sees this, because every city he went. He just had a story about like, and then they did this, and then I fell into this, and I'm like, you're the problem. So for him, he kept thinking if I go to this city, it'll be the grass is greener type thing. And it's like, well, instead of going to the greener grass, fix your yard, man. Like fertilize and put down, plant some things. And again, this is real easy for me to say, just as a devil's advocate to what you were saying. Not that you're wrong or right or anything, but it is just another way of looking at it. That I do feel like in your situation, yeah, you're not going to be around the triggers, but those things are triggering issues, and those issues are going to stay with you. You just don't have as many triggers. You still have to deal with the issues at some point.
Yeah. And I'll say for me, and maybe this is oversharing, but the type of ADHD that I have, I'm super observant.
Yeah.
Depending on the thing, I also have a very sharp memory. I will remember things.
Oh, you have an incredible memory with names and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for me, the reason why it would have been better for me to have moved from St. Pete
Sure.
is because not only is it the seeing something or smelling something or going somewhere and it brings back a memory, but for me that memory is supercharged.
Right.
And so for me it's a lot of, and I mean it's even now there are certain places I do not go because I know how I'm going to feel if I go through that door or if I see that thing.
Right. I only laugh because the amount of times that we'll be in a city and I'll be like, ooh, I found a great place to take us. And we go there and you're like, we used to come here all the time. And I was like, gosh darn it.
Well, and see, that's another thing. We would travel so much with work and go to conferences and also vacation that, it was a lot of my favorite cities.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, especially New Orleans. Anyone who knows me knows I love New Orleans. Well, we probably went 3 or 4 times, and so now it's kind of like, oh yeah, if I go, I'm going to remember. If we went, the times that we went, we would go to Jackson Square, and we did this and we did that, and oh well, we ate here. But I don't know. For me, just that everyone thinks it's great having a really good memory and being super observant. Well, not always.
Well, hopefully over time, and this is that over time thing, maybe be it by yourself or with me or with another friend or something, you can create different memories in those same things. And it doesn't erase the memories from the past type thing. Those all still exist. They're just layers. Rome's built on itself many, many times.
Mm-hmm.
But it just becomes a different memory, and it's hued by those other memories. But you get enough of the new memories, and then it's just built on top.
Yeah, and I've done that in a lot of places. There's still some places that I just say no. I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
But like you and I travel quite a bit. I travel more with you than I have even when I was single. So when we go to a place where I have been to before, if there's an unsavory memory there, I just say, okay, well, I'm not going to pay that memory any attention, and I'm going to create new memories by doing X, Y, Z.
Well, nice. I think that's good advice.
Yeah.
All right. So, the question is about your favorite comfort food. Let's go. I'm going to break this into 2 things. My question is, we'll go with your mac and cheese, okay? Because that's the recipe, your macaroni and cheese. Mm-hmm. I don't know why we're so against the word mac.
Because mac and cheese comes out of a box. That's why.
So your macaroni and cheese, which is the recipe that's going to be posted on the description of this podcast. So you'll be able to get the recipe from the description, which is great.
Oh, and stick around for some tips on how to make it even better than what it is.
And
I just wanted to throw that in.
And so who do you think, or who do you see enjoying that recipe the most? What type of person who do you see enjoying that recipe?
Oh,
What are they
gosh.
going through? What is their life? What's that person?
I don't think they necessarily have to be going through anything. I mean, it's like any other food.
You picture somebody. So I put it on the website. I put the recipe, and now right now you picture somebody in the kitchen making it. Who is that person? Describe that person.
I don't know, because for me, it's not necessarily about. It's not solely about comfort.
Right.
It's wanting to make something different, or saying, "Oh, well, I'm not going to make mac and cheese out of a box tonight. I'm going to make macaroni and cheese using Matt's grandmother's recipe." So I don't know if there's not one type of person that comes to mind when I'm like, who might listen to this and say, "Oh, that sounds good. I'm going to make that tomorrow."
So you can't picture somebody.
No, someone who wants to try something different, or maybe someone who enjoys Southern food, or
Do you see them making it for an event, for a big dinner, for a friend thing? Like we're going to.
oh yeah, I could see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my next one, same thing. Who's the person in your mind that needs to go out and try chili quiles? Who is that person? Is it a young 20-year-old? Is it a girl, boy? Who is the person in your mind that you're like, I think that would make a difference for them if they just tried that?
Again, there's not one type of person that pops into my head. But someone
Scrap that question from the rest of the
but someone who likes Mexican food, but they know that it's more than tacos and burritos and enchiladas and tostadas and stuff
Most
like
people
that.
don't even know about tostadas. Bring it down.
Or someone who thinks that Mexican food is
Nachos.
what you get at Chipotle or Taco Bell, which I have zero issue with. They're good in and of themselves.
Applebee's nachos is Mexican food.
No. But yeah, someone who maybe wants to broaden their horizons. Maybe it's someone who does know quite a bit about Mexican cuisine, and they're like, "Oh, well, I've never heard of that. Let me try it, or let me try to cook it." Or so yeah, someone who wants to do something new that they haven't done before.
So here's a bit of a difference. What is your guilty pleasure food? What is your guilty pleasure that you're be like, oh, I hope people don't know that I actually enjoy eating this?
Oh, a guilty pleasure food.
Yeah. I didn't give you a heads up on this question. I thought of this the other day.
I don't know if I have any food that I'm embarrassed that anyone knows that I eat.
Oh, I have one, and it's going to make you upset. And
For me or for you?
For me. And my guilty pleasure food that I'll admit on this episode is, because it ties in wonderfully, is when you were back up with your family for a week. I think I was down here for 3-4 days by myself on one of those trips. That dollar Kraft mac and cheese box with the powder. I will make that little pot of it, that family size pot, and I will just eat the whole thing myself. And it's not good. It's not. But it's
good in its own way.
It reminds me of childhood. It reminds me of being much more poor. It reminds me of struggle meals. It reminds me of all of those things. And the thing is, I know how to make good macaroni and cheese. I've never made your grandmother's, but I make good macaroni and cheese. But there's something about that like, it's the same thing like, I used to be a bartender for so many years, and I was really into craft beer, and everybody went to me for craft beer, and they said, what do you drink when you go out on the town, Jeff? And I'm like, Miller Lite. It's just one of those things that it's like there's something easy about it, and I'll just put a spoon and I don't even let it cool down. I will burn
I'm the
my
same
tongue.
way with like shells and cheese, like Velveeta, even the cheap knockoff
That's
brands.
still fancy for me.
Velveeta, Cracker Barrel, their shells and cheese that they have.
That's my kind of guilty pleasure, and it is. And the thing is, I love cooking, and I'll cook anything. I will give a shot to cooking anything. And then there's just that I'll spend $1 on that and just eat it for dinner. Okay. My huh? That is we were going to talk about your work a little bit. We're actually coming up on the hour, so we're not going to get much time in for that. I will touch briefly on tell me a little bit about what you do currently for a job, and then I want to talk about. We're going to go over the hour a little bit, but give me your elevator pitch on what your current job is. And we asked about what your dream job is. I want to talk about that just a little bit.
All right, so currently I have worked in clinical research, and if you don't know what it is, look it up. But it's basically how new medications and treatments get to market. But I've been working in clinical research since 2007, and for several years, actually going on probably a decade or more. I own my own business where I negotiate budgets and contracts.
Currently called the Pathways Group.
Yeah, the Pathways Group. I'm getting ready to launch a new service, and this is really hard to describe if you don't work in the industry, but as someone puts it, I help them file their papers. Not untrue, but also not an accurate description
Not how you
either.
would describe it.
But a lot of the things that we do in clinical research are now starting to go electronic. And one of the things is a lot of the regulatory records are now going from being based in paper to being electronic documents. And so I'm launching a service where I will be doing that. I'll be managing that process for investigator sites.
So one of the things I asked was, and by the way, and this is just, again, I'm on the inside, no, you're highly regarded in the business for all of these things. And one of the things that causes so much of our travel is you being asked to speak at conferences all over the U.S. and beyond.
Yeah.
And we'll see, that ties into this one nicely. I asked what your dream job would be, and you said professional traveler.
Yeah, my dream job would be to not have a job.
And
Or
just
let me
travel.
say that, no, because the universe is listening. My dream job is not to have a job and just be able and have enough money to just travel the world.
So, quick couple questions on these. We'll try and do these two quick questions as we come up on the end here. Give me two places, because I don't want to narrow it down to one. That makes it hard. Give me two places that you absolutely are looking forward to traveling to. If you had that opportunity, money's not the issue. You could leave tomorrow. Name the two places you would want to go.
All right, well, one is very specific. Mexico. I used to go to Mexico quite a bit.
That's not specific. That's a whole country.
Well, no, specifically.
Yes.
Central Mexico, like Mexico City, and some of the small towns that I used to go to, they've actually grown a little bit. A little bit more general is Asia. I've always been fascinated by Asian culture.
That's interesting. I know you've been dying to go to London, England. And that was not one of your two choices, so I guess I'll cancel those tickets.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The next quick question for you is, where was your best, I think I know the answer, your best travel memory? Is that Mexico again?
Oh, absolutely.
Is it just the heart of Mexico got you?
There's just something about Mexico. Funny enough, being 6'2", blonde, blue-eyed, when I'm in Mexico, I feel at home.
Okay.
I've always felt at home in Mexico. And not necessarily because the people are so hospitable and, I speak the language and understand the culture, but it is a feeling of, oh my God, was I Mexican in a past life, because I feel like I'm home.
Right. That's a great feeling. And that, I think, is the beauty of travel, is when you can get to a place and you feel like that, then obviously that's such a nice thing to click inside, and then that explains why you become fluent, why you've been able to it clicked, it filled a part that you didn't even know, little puzzle piece in you, and that's what's great about traveling and trying the different foods and trying different places. Well, I want to thank you for being on the first episode.
I have one more thing to say. Shantae. If you know, you know. No, I said I was going to give a couple of tips for
Yes. So the recipe is going to be in the description.
Yeah. So as with any recipe, you cook from the heart. That recipe is a guideline. You do what feels good to you. Use more cheese. I can almost always say use more cheese than what the recipe calls for. If you like your macaroni and cheese a little soupier, use less cheese. If you like it firmer, use more cheese. And the thing about, because it calls for mild and sharp. Sharp cheddar cheese, when it starts to melt, it releases a lot of grease, a lot of oil.
It's oily, yeah.
So you're going to have to take it out of the oven towards the end, dab off the oil that's going to be floating on the surface, because if you don't, it won't brown.
Okay. That's actually really good advice.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it. I'm not going to give shitty advice at the very end. I don't want people thinking, oh, that was a bad advice. Why did he give bad advice at the end? That's what I'm going to remember.
It's so sweet you think people are listened all the way to the end of this for us. But I want to thank Matt Lowery for being my first guest. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank Jeff Klein for having me as his first guest.
Thank you for giving the mac and cheese recipe. I can personally
Macaroni and cheese recipe.
This is going to be the whole next 2 days. I can personally say it's a hit everywhere that we go. I personally love it. It is absolutely delicious. I can't get enough of it. I should get enough of it. No need. That was unnecessary. And I'm shooting profile, which I am not happy with. I keep cheating more and more. Episode 2, I will be looking directly in the camera. But it's delicious. It is a hit at every function. We go over to my ex's house for our Thanksgiving with him and the chosen family, and some blood family shows up sometimes. And your job every time is the macaroni and cheese. And there's nothing left every time. We get invited to people's houses for Easter, and they say bring mac and cheese, and then they say bring an extra mac and cheese just for them. And there's nothing left over. So it is absolutely a hit. If you want to do something a little decadent, you want to give it a try, I recommend trying it. It's a very great recipe to give out.
And it's simple. It's not a ton of ingredients.
It's an easy one to make. Yeah. And I appreciate the sharing, and I appreciate the advice that you gave on finding yourself a way to stay busy and less focused. And appreciate the perspective from somebody with ADHD as well, because that's something my brain doesn't work that way. So for me, thinking of advice on having to go through something and deal with something, I deal with it differently because my brain's not firing the exact same way. So the same exact advice wouldn't work. So thank you very much for giving that. And what is a website that they can find you at?
www.
Yes, the worldwide HTTP. Let's start at the beginning. HTTP.
And I think it's pathwaysgrp.com.
Okay,
It's either www.thepathwaysgrp.com or pathwaysgrp.com.
Okay, this is good. I'm really happy that
I think it's pathwaysgrp.com. I didn't know there was a quiz.
Thank you very much. Let's eat some charcuterie, and it gets butter, because at the end of the day, no matter what you're going through, it gets butter.
It does. And there's even butter in the recipe that I shared.
There is. Oh, look, 2/3 of a cup.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.